sacred. And I think, the table the table right in front of me is sacred, and our prayer are sacred. So everything is sacred. So all it is with my work is going back to remembering who you are. And it's through the body, through the food, through meditation, through breath work, through conversation, that what is repeating in our mind, what is a constant, the same story. And I was one of them. I went through a really hard divorce. It wasn't easy. And I remember that I watched other women who got divorced and were constantly whining and complaining. And I was like, I'm not going to be that. But then I watched myself, how I became that. It's sort of like the process. We have to go through certain process in order for our vessel to break and sort of the light to come in and then to rebirth a whole new me. And I think if I can do it and I'm still here and it didn't break me, it didn't kill me, I think every woman who come in front of me, I can help her with whatever she's going through, almost everything, obviously.
Welcome to the Wisdom We Share podcast, where ancient truths and modern intelligence weave together to inspire, ground, and shape us for a wiser, awakened life. I'm Anjani Amrit.
And I'm Robin Wald. And together we bring you fascinating conversations from the worlds of spirituality, science, and human behavior, so you can connect to your own inner wisdom, joy, and clarity, elevating the way you actually live your life. Today on the Wisdom We Share podcast, we are so happy to introduce you guys all to Osi Mizrahi. Osi is the founder and visionary behind OSI Oils, a sacred wellness brand rooted in Ayurveda, ritual, and the art of returning home to oneself. Born on a farm in Israel, Osi's relationship with the natural world began early, shaping a lifelong path of listening to the body, honoring intuition, and working with plant intelligence as medicine. She is a medical intuitive, Ayurvedic educator, and guides women through somatic wisdom, helping them reconnect to their inner authority, regulate the nervous system, and live from embodied self-trust. With over 30 years of lived and professional experience in Ayurveda, Kundalini Yoga, Kabbalah, breathwork, and somatic practices, Osi weaves ancient wisdom traditions into grounded, transformative work for modern life. Her teaching supports women in returning to their inner home, where clarity, vitality, and personal power naturally arise. Osi is devoted to the philosophy of slow beauty and slow aging, honoring the body's rhythms rather than overriding them. To her, oils are not simply skincare, they are vessels of love, presence, and remembrance.
Mm.
Welcome to the show, Osi.
Thank you so much, both of you, for having me here. Being on a Monday night after the snowstorm with two great women, what else do we need?
Yeah. So, Anjani, would you like to jump in, or how do you want to start
Yeah,
today?
I'm super interested in your y- how you describe Ayurveda, because I'm also Ayurvedically trained, and I also got into Ayurveda because of a chronic illness. So for me, it was irritable bowel, and I was told by the doctors, you'll have it all your life, you'll never be cured, blah blah blah. And then someone in all of that kind of told me about Ayurvedic medicine, and that I would be, it was a psychic actually, and said I'd be studying. And I was like, I don't even know what this is. I was raised in Yorkshire. So just tell our listeners, what is Ayurveda? What does it mean? What does it stand for? And a little bit about how you got into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, my path is pretty much similar to yours. I had also digestive issues, and I think they started probably when I was much younger. It was just constantly cramping and feeling constipation at age 15. And living in Israel, it wasn't at that time in the 80s so I would say healthy. I mean, the food is super healthy in Israel, but I think, my parents weren't yogis and they weren't practicing, any Eastern medicine. So I wasn't really exposed to it, but I remember I got invited to go to a kibbutz in Israel, and the kibbutz was vegan. And that was my aha moment. That was for me like, oh my God, people eat like that, like a cheesecake without cheese. Like, how is it possible? And I think for that moment, I had this yearning to go back to that, knowing that there's something there that kept pulling me in. And 3 years later, my whole family moved to the US. And I was exposed to Iyengar yoga and natural food. And initially, I was exposed to the raw movement, and then macrobiotic, two very extreme. So I think I always say it is the path was sort of given to us. We just have to surrender to what is there, and we have to learn basically to just watch what's coming. And I think for me, what was coming is constant digestive issues. And, nobody knew what it was till I had an episode after my second pregnancy. And I also was diagnosed, I tell the whole story in my book that's coming up. And I was also diagnosed with, colitis, proctitis, IBS, all those labels. And they say I'm going to have to be on medication, Asacol, which is like coating the digestive for the rest of my life. And it just didn't register. It's like there's no way. But Western medicine is great up to a point. I think what's lacking in Western medicine is that the ability of a day to day, like who is going to take care of me day to day? How I'm going to take care of myself day to day? Okay, so I'm taking the medication. Does actually the medication solve all the problems? And so that was really my journey. Uh, I got into Ayurveda later on, I would say 2000, and I started studying with Dr. Lad. My friend said, go study with this incredible doctor out in Albuquerque. And it felt again another knowing. And when went to meet Dr. Lad, he immediately recognized me too. It was almost like a bashert, it was like meant to be. And he's like, come and study with me. He invited me to come and study with him. And that was like such an honor. And he's definitely a master. He's a master where he read your pulse, he knows everything that's going on with you. And slowly I started, knowing thyself. I think what for me was I really learned to know my body, my disposition, my shadows, and work with them versus, judging. I learned slowly to work with what I had.
It sounds also like part of the work that you're doing now with women through somatic awareness and through the actual hands-on Ayurvedic therapies is helping women to reconnect and remember that connection with their own body, with their own intuitive knowing. Is that work rewarding for you? And how do you see it transform women's lives and relationships to themselves?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I would say that that's what happened to me is I learned to work with trauma that we have in our body. I learned to work with, the inner voice, the inner child, really slowing down with Ayurveda, which means life science, lifespan. That's basically the definition. That was the medicine, right? But then you have it all. You have the kundalini, which is the breath, like moving the breath, and then you have the Kabbalah, which is working with the vessel. As you know, Robin, you are a teacher of Kabbalah as well. And then we have, what you were asking me, like, how does that help women? I think the women that I work with, I just tap into their highest. I just see it. I fall in love with all my clients because I see their spirit. And I was like, oh my God, all this noise, right? We all have this noise. and the world gonna be even more noisy.
Mm.
And we're not even gonna know what is true and what is not true, right? I know you probably agree with me on what's the vision on it. And so what do we have to do? If we know this is what's happening, we have to know ourselves so well, and we have to know Satnam. We have to know the truth. We have to know what is really true and real. And I think that's as simple as my work, is that I see the truth and I hold the truth the whole time for my clients. And then they tell me I have digestive issues, and I listen. And then I ask them to go and do tests a lot of time just to get diagnosed. So we have the medical label, and we don't have anything that is progressive that, we missed. And then I go into what I did for myself. I basically went into 6 months of took off. I had a lot of help from the community to help me with my young kids who needed a lot of driving, and I just stayed home. I literally stayed home. I had a beautiful house with a gorgeous backyard, and I was like, I'm just staying home. And I cooked for myself. I think one of the things that one of the gurus told me is that if you cook for yourself, and you do blessing and mantras while you cooking, and you using your own hand when you cook as your own energies in the food, it was like we are so sensitive. I remember back in the day, one of my teachers said, the guy, the deli, was so angry in the morning, and he was like making the eggs and making the sandwich and putting the mayonnaise and giving it to me, and he was not in a good mood. And I was like, dude, I don't want to eat the sandwich. Like, no, I don't want to touch something that doesn't have sacred. Everything is sacred. And I think, the table right in front of me is sacred, and our prayer are sacred. So everything is sacred. So all it is with my work is going back to remembering who you are. And it's through the body, through the food, through meditation, through breath work, through conversation, that what is repeating in our mind, what is a constant, the same story. And I was one of them. I went through a really hard divorce. It wasn't easy. And I remember that I watched other women who got divorced and were constantly whining and complaining. And I was like, I am not going to be that. But then I watched myself, how I became that. It's sort of like the process. We have to go through certain process in order for our vessel to break, and sort of the light to come in, and then to rebirth a whole new me. And I think if I can do it, and I am still here, and it didn't break me and didn't kill me, I think every woman who come in front of me, I can help her with whatever she's going through, almost everything, obviously. And sometimes I send them to other great gifted people to do extra work. And that's the community, is we do it together. We help each other really uplift. And we need women right now. We need healthy, strong, clear women and mothers.
This is so true. It's so important that we help evolve women so that they are feeling safe enough to listen back to their inner wisdom, and to engage in ancient practices and ancient sciences like yoga and meditation and Ayurveda, because for those who don't know, Ayurveda is the oldest medical system still in practice today. So in India, if you go to India and other places in the world, you can go to hospitals that are Ayurvedic hospitals. And I trained in India myself and saw reversal of chronic illnesses, cancers. And when people needed kidney transplants, they would come and they would have reversal of that need so that they would have their kidneys healed. And these sciences, these ancient sciences, were handed down by seers, by these great wise masters, that still has relevance today. It's not just fads. There's, like you mentioned, there's the meat fad, and then the blood fad, and then all these fads, and this confuses women. Whereas if we come back to Ayurveda, it's had the same message for over 5,000 years, possibly more, but and it's still as relevant to us today. as it's always been. And you mentioned you studied with Dr. Vasant Lad, and he's amazing. I studied his works as well. Just an amazing teacher in this. How do you, because what you've done is you've been able to bring ancient knowledge and wisdom and put it in a way, and I say packaging lightly because it's not like it's not more than packaging, but put it in a way that modern women can then take of it, digest it, understand more about their body types. Can you talk a little bit more about, and I want to hear it from your words, like what is a body type? What is a dosha? What does that mean? And how does that help us in our day-to-day life and health in making choices, what's right for us and what's not right for us?
Yeah, I mean, to just do Ayurveda 101, I would say to you, just to go really direct and say, and to reaffirm what you said, is that, when I said Satnam and truth, is that I use systems and science that it's been for 5,000 and 3,000 years. So Kundalini Ayurveda, they're all sort of the pillars, and Kabbalah, the all pillars for something that came way before us, right? And the gurus are the one who brought us to the state, but we don't need to bow to the gurus. They're just a messenger. You are the guru. So let's just be clear. My whole thing is about you are the guru, you learn your own body, and Ayurveda is everything. It's life. And the way it sort of I would say the download that I got about Ayurveda is when I got Panchakarma, which means it's the 5 elements, and it's about extracting the toxic in your body, toxin. And it's certain lymphatic work with oils that are cooked for 3 days, and you have 2 women. As a woman, you have 2 women working on you and doing basti on the heart and on the belly and whatever disposition you have, and you eat mono diet, khichdi diet. And after those 10 days of doing this treatments, I had a really strong knowing, and it was a long time ago, and I said, I have to bring this medicine to the West in a way that women going to want to put this stuff on their body, because women not going to want to put sesame oil and then going to work for a meeting. So I created the oils that based on the 5,000 years old. I did not change the original formula, but I enhanced it to make it, I would say, sensual, and so they smell great and they absorb easily. So you can take a shower and go to work, and you have this whiff of smell when you are stressed during the day. Suddenly that smell remind you sandalwood, breathe again, rose, all those great essential oils. And the herbs, when they cook for 3 days, you get all this wonderful, I would say, medicine that penetrate through your skin, which is your biggest organ. Ayurveda is life science that I say. You have the 3 doshas to make it super simple. The Vata is the air element, pitta is fire, and it's in the digestive, and you have the kapha, which is, it's a little bit more heavier, right? The Vata is lighter. The pitta is more muscular. So it's a body type. It's your hair, it's your eyes, it's the structure of your body. That's how you sort of define. You go on my website, you have 30 seconds, you can do a test for free, and you know your body type. And then you start working with it. So I'm, for instance, Pitta constitution, which is very fire. I digest my thought in my belly. Everything is digested. So when I had issues, it was digestive. It's very aligned with Pitta constitution. Now, when you reach 50 or 47, I started like menopause. Menopause is very Vata. Your whole air elements start to come up. So you get dry joint, harder to sleep, your hair get thinner, you have all this stuff, hot flashes, all of that stuff is actually the rising of the Vata constitution. So you work with it. Kapha constitution is a little bit heavier, is the mountain, the water element, right? Is the lungs. So so you learn, the element is simple to understand. We have the water, right? We have the fire, we have the ether, and we're just working with the elements. We all made out of those elements. So I happen to have all of them. We all have all of them. So my vata and my pitta are sort of playing games right now. My kapha is my lowest. And I notice it. So I'm making sure I'm eating more cooked food. And I don't eat raw food. I don't want more vata. I don't want more air. I don't actually like being vata. I'm much rather being.
Welcome to my world, Osi. I have been on Vata overdrive since birth, but interestingly, when you speak about postmenopausal and that like bringing up more Vata, I
Yeah,
actually think since menopause, I've become more Pitta.
that's great.
And is it though? Because
Yes.
I also feel like more inflammation,
Mm.
like more like more acidic, more inflammation. And so it's hard to find balance. So like what are your daily practices or what's the wisdom that you recommend to people to start? Like what daily practices could help you find balance or rebalance if you're feeling out of balance?
Yeah, I do wellness days in hotels and spas and yoga studio just to teach that, to basically teach about the oil. So I literally used, I'm looking for, so I use the oils. This one is Flow, it's a belly oil. So I use the oil, I warm it. We're gonna have a kit. So you're basically gonna get the kit with a heating pad, with a flannel, to put on your belly. Um, um, with patli, which is this is a patli.
Hmm.
You just warm it up and you just hit the joint. So, we're gonna have a kid to basically gonna explain you everything, and I'm gonna do videos for all my subscribers. So they basically gonna go with me on an Ayurveda journey 101. So I use a lot of oils. I warm them and I oil my body. And I eat fat. My diet is like, I am the opposite of the American diet. I don't believe in zero fat. I eat avocado, I eat a ton of olive oils, olives, ghee. That's just my diet, and I think that eating fat and then putting oils on your skin and that have herbs that have been cooked for 3 days, like ashwagandha and bakochi, and all those great herbs that been basically brewed and cooked for 3 days, and then we have it with sesame oil or coconut oil, depend on the constitution. And I have a little warmer in my house, super simple, and I can show you. So I have like a little warmer. I just put a plate on it and I put the oil and I basically warm it, and then I take the oils before I take a shower. I put it all over my body, and sometimes before I take a bath, and sometimes after. So sometimes I just put the oils after I dry my body, put the oils all over, dry it again, and my towels smells amazing, my clothes smell great. And
What's great about Ayurveda is that it's not one size fits all, right? It's when, as obviously when you're working with individuals, it's looking not just at their dosha or the constitution that they're born with, but also what's out of balance. So as you said quite rightly, we all have the five elements, and we all have our main constitution. So one or two of the main elements are more present in us naturally. But what happens is through our daily lives, we get out of balance, especially in a modern life. So, Robin, you were saying, oh, I think my pitta, I'm becoming more pitta. Just to be clear, we don't become more anything, we just get more. It's like topping up levels, and so sometimes we get too much level of one element. So pitta will obviously bring inflammation because it's fire. Too much vata will bring too much air, so we'll get dry, as Osi said. So for the listeners, what can you recommend if they don't know anything about Ayurveda? What's one daily practice? You've kind of alluded to it with your oils, like with abhyanga. How can abhyanga? What is abhyanga? How can it help the everyday woman? Because I do it religiously, like every day. I did it this morning. I do it every day.
you can see
And
your skin. You can
how can Yeah, what is it and how does it help us as women?
Mhm. Yeah, so abhyanga is basically, first of all, the word sneha is equal to oil and it's equal to love. We basically pour in love to our body. And it's not from a man, oh woman, oh my children, oh my, you pour in love to yourself. I mean, how amazing. Like you, so it's self-love. That's number one. That's the basic of it. And abhyanga is basically glowing your body. You glow your whole body, you radiate your body. And for me, it's like before I do the oils, I actually do tongue scrape and I do oil pulling. So I gargle with oil pulling. I clean my tongue before I even brush my teeth. That's the first thing I do in the morning. I go and do, you know, breath of fire for a few minutes, or and then I start my day. I make some tea, I eat some, breakfast, and then I do the oiling. My day is very different when I do abhyanga. It's very
Yeah,
different. I do also
yeah.
shiradara, which is the head treatment. I don't do it every week, but right now, because my vata is a little higher and, I can see the shift in my hair. So I'm doing skull massage. And then that really great for the nervous system, anxiety, and to reduce the vata that I have.
Yeah, so you're talking about a
Position.
beautiful yeah, a daily practice. And what I learned as well from Ayurveda, which has sustained my health ongoing through this different stages and ages of my life, is that daily practice, because waking up time the same, tongue scrape, because if you don't scrape your tongue in the morning, all the toxins from the digestive system deposit on the tongue. If you don't scrape the tongue in the morning, then you just swallow those back down.
Yeah.
And then our Western culture is very vata aggravating, deranging is the word, isn't it, that we speak about in Ayurveda. It's like my vata's deranged, and technology deranges us, travel deranges us, all this talking and
It's
tech
all vata.
deranges us. It's all excess vata, yeah. So I think that the message you're bringing is such an important one for women, particularly. I love how you describe it. You're bringing that glow back to you, and the way you described it reminded me of Abhishenkam. How in India they pour oils and water and rose and beautiful things over the statues. And it's an honoring ritual. And I think it's such a beautiful way that you describe something. And ritual often is not a word that we understand in the West. But when we come back to ritual, that's when we remember our wisdom. So what would you say for our listeners to help them kind of get over any ideas that they have, pre-programmed ideas about ritual and what it is, and come home to themselves? Because you talk a lot about coming home.
Yeah. My whole mission is to come back home to the self. And the word in Ayurveda is Dinacharya, which is the rituals. And again, I don't want to overwhelm people by saying, oh my God, I have to do tongue scrape and I have to do the oils. Pick one thing. Pick one thing that you're going to do and you like it. Like I love taking the the toxin out of my tongue in the morning. It's my favorite thing in the morning. I don't know what it is about it, but I just love it. There's no way I would travel without a tongue scrape. Like it's like the most important thing for me. And then I drink, which is nonstop hot water. Like I drink all day long and I have a thermos. Yeah. And I have a thermos that I carry with me. Here we go. I carry with me. It's in the car. It's in the yoga studio. I was teaching yesterday in town and I brought with me the thermos next to me. So I know I'm taking care of myself while I'm taking care of other 20 people. You always remember that you got to take care of yourself and you got to do the things that makes you feel good. And for me, tongue scrape and oiling my body is so simple and so easy. I don't, Abhyanga can be a whole hour of practice. I have a heater in my bathroom, an extra heater in my bathroom, and I leave it there and I turn it on an hour before I take a bath or a shower because I want the place to be warm. And I have, I have a rug on the floor that it's not a problem to put oils on it. And I put oils and warm, and then I can stay naked with warm oil and do other things before I go and take. So the oils observe, into the skin, into your joints, and into the nervous system. It literally affect your nervous system. And then when you work, the reason I did breast oil and belly oil, because you want to work on the lymph system. You want to work around the vagus nerve. You want to work around the chest. I massage around my breast 30 times, literally. It's take literally 3 minutes. You know, once once you do it again and again, it becomes easy, like brushing your teeth. You just choose one thing that makes you feel good. I want to just do the belly oil with a flannel and a heating pad twice a week. They have castor oil in it. There's so many great things in the oil that you basically gonna, soothe the inflammation, and you reduce the inflammation, and it's great for hormones. And most of us as women, we go through being bloated. There are days that I'm flat stomach, there are days that I'm bloated. How do you explain it, right? And to go back to, what you asked me in the beginning is like, how did I heal myself? I got off all the medication, but it was slow process. It took me 6 months. I did like bone broth and alkaline diet and green juice and very simple diet. And within 6 months, everything shifted and I got off the medication.
I wonder if you can say a little bit more about what you mean by slow beauty and slow aging.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the slow movement of food. Think about it. It's farm to table. It's not mass production. What I do is not mass production. We make it in a small lab, and it's not a huge place. And we have one huge machine of stainless steel that we work with, and everything is done, you know, it's just by hand. So the same way we're doing it, the oils by hand, is the same way, you treat the oils and you put them on your body. And I think for me, slow beauty, slow aging is, if we start doing those oil practices, you will see that your radiance, your glow, your oja comes back, your life force come back. And it's really slow the aging process. We're going to age. We're all going to age. How we're going to age is what's important. We're all going to age, but how we're going to age, we're all going to have some sort of disease. I don't care how healthy you are. We're in a toxic environment. We're all going to get something. We also know that our parents had stuff, so we can learn from that and we can work with it. I was talking to an incredible practitioner yesterday, and he's like, look, my parents have Alzheimer's. I'm super healthy. And I'm like, right now, I'm taking care of it. I said, so what do you do? He's like, I cut all the sugar. I have zero sugar in my diet. There's no alcohol. There's no carbohydrates that are, white sugars. He doesn't have any milk, which is basically turned to sugar. And he said, my diet is basically, protein and fats and greens and, only certain fruits, not even fruits that have a high, sugar in them. And, if you think about it, that's actually the medicine for, diabetes and Alzheimer's, and everything all the disease comes from accumulation of the toxics, and our liver can handle all this toxic. So you go and you do Panchakarma and abhyanga at home. Because if you're going to go to India, my opinion, from my experience of people who've gone there, it takes you 2 days to get there, 2 days to come back. And then you are lowering your whole body and your system, you're lowering your nervous system. And then you're going on a plane again. It's hard. Why don't you learn to do those practices at home? It's a lot cheaper.
I also love that it's very empowering, right? Like we can take the autonomy and the authority
That's
of
it.
our own health, our own body, our own, like really be proactive. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So,
And
as
that's how
we,
I empower women. Like,
yeah,
learn
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. As we wrap up the conversation, I'm wondering if there's just one more piece of wisdom you might share to someone who's never tried Ayurveda before. Not like you gave us already so many amazing routes in, right? Like a place to start, choose one thing. But maybe beyond the Ayurvedic, like from your yogic, from your spiritual practice, from your life experience as a mother, as someone who's lived internationally, as someone who's raised animals and bees and created home that's beautiful, like, what's one piece of wisdom that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Mm. Wow. I mean, happiness and joy and peace. Do anything in your life to have more peace because it's precious. So if things that bother you and aggravate you, like really choose what to put your attention on. I started as a Zen practice. Um, and I just finished a shashin, which is like very tough practice, and really working on the mind and sitting for hours. And when I got out of it, I was like, oh my God, the simplicity is amazing. Like suddenly I live in this space for 6 months. I never heard the birds. Suddenly I heard the birds. That's how quiet I was. so so I think peace and joy and laughter. So that's the best commodity, because I really do believe that joy is, prevention of disease,
Mm-hmm.
happiness. And so I turned off my phone for 3 hours. I make sure my kids are okay, my boys, and no one needs me. And I turn off my phone for 3 hours. And I tell you, I just contemplated. I just moved from one room to another. I read a book. I made myself tea. I was just with myself, quiet, and with the books and with great knowledge that I have around me, and just with myself, and took a longer shower. And it was fabulous. Like,
Yeah.
that's how simple. We need to go back to the basic.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We will include in the show notes for people to reach out to your website to find that free tool on the website where they can figure out their dosha. They can learn more about how to use oils for sure. And also the link to the book that's coming out soon. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
I hope you have a lot of success. I know it's going to really impact and be inspiring for people about returning home to the self. Yeah. Anjani, do you have anything else you want to wrap up with?
Just to say thank you for sharing all of your wisdom. As I find with women who are embracing all these ancient cultures and coming back into alignment themselves, it's just such an honor to have met you, to have your wisdom shared with us. And I love that you have brought a very vast subject into something very easy and applicable for the modern woman. So thank you so much. And as always, this is the wisdom that we share. Thank you,
Yeah.
Osi.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Wisdom We Share podcast. We hope today's episode sparked some new insight, imagination, and practical tools you can integrate into your daily life.
Continue this journey with us by subscribing, sharing, and dropping us a review. Until next time, stay wise.